The title of my sermon this morning is He is Light, or perhaps a little better, more personal one, Let There Be Light. And we're going to be in Isaiah chapter 2, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, and Genesis chapter 1 for our key verses that we will find. We are today into the third week of Advent, by our Advent anyways. Our focus has been preparing for His second coming, for Christ's second coming. The first week we talked about He is coming, and His return is imminent. He will do it. It's not going to change. He has it written in the law. He will return, and He will take the rightful seat on the throne of David, and He will rule the world from there. We contrasted His second coming from the rapture of the church, and we talked about what would take place when He did show up. Then last week, in the second week, we talked about when He does show up, not only is He coming, He is Lord when He shows up, and that every knee will bow before Him. And when He shows up, if they do not bow the knee before Him, Jesus said He will crush them like into dust with a stone. He is Lord. And then we also talked about the desperate need of the people of the church, the believers, the followers of Him, to have lordship of Him in their lives. And all of us need to make Him Lord of our life. Which now brings us to number 3, that He is light. He is light. He is coming. He is Lord, and He is light. By the way, notice the progression. He's coming in, right? He's going to lord over everything, and then He's going to flick the flashlight on, and everybody's going to see everything as it should be. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 9 to begin this morning. Isaiah chapter 9, verse 1. Nevertheless, the gloom will not be upon her who is in distress. As when at first He lightly esteemed the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward more heavily oppressed her by the way of the sea beyond the Jordan in Galilee of the Gentiles. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them a light has shined. By the way, when I talk about prophecy, I'm very careful. And I think there is a prophecy yet to come from this passage. And if you want to ask me about it, you can ask me about it one-on-one. I'm not going to do it from the pulpit because it's my opinion and probably needs more study. But do your own little study on that verse 2. There's possibly one yet to come. In a more direct and obvious way, where did Jesus' ministry start? Sea of Galilee. The first sermon that He preached was in Capernaum. That's where He opened up His ministry, there on the sea. Beautiful little town. It was in, as He said here in verse 1, in Galilee of the Gentiles, right on the side, the west side of the Sea of Galilee. Verse 3, you have multiplied the nation and increased its joy. They rejoice before you according to the joy of the harvest, as men rejoice when they divide the spoil. Verse 4, for you have broken the yoke of his burden and the staff of his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, as in the day of Midian. For every warrior's sandal from the noisy battle and garments rolled in blood will be used for burning and fuel for fire. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder, and his name will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there will be no end, upon the throne of David over his kingdom, to order it and establish it with judgment and justice from that time forward, even forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. In the passage before, he talked about, in those first 3 verses, this land of Galilee, this Galilee of the Gentiles. And he talked about these people that were walking amongst the darkness. They didn't live in the darkness, but they lived in the shadow of that darkness. And it was there, in the midst of that darkness, that the light showed up. You'd have thought, if God was going to show up and show his light to the world, that he would have done it from Jerusalem, the place of light, right? Where the temple was at. But he didn't. He went to where it was needed the most. To those that were on the edge. To those that were in fear. To those that were straying. To those that were distant. He showed up to a people that were living in the shadows of the light. Now notice verse 6. Verse 6 is actually a prophecy about 4 different times of Christ's life. And we read it for Christmas time and we just take it for Christmas, but this is much more than just for Jesus showing up here on this earth as Emmanuel. Verse 6 says, "For unto us a child is born." The child is capitalized. That's Jesus. That's what we're celebrating in this season of time. His return. His coming to this earth as a child. The child was born. But notice then there's a comma. There's more information. And it says, "Unto us a son is given." Now you see, that's a little bit more specific, isn't it? There's lots of children born. But there was only one capital S, son, that was given. It wasn't God giving his son from heaven down to earth. That's not what it's referring to. No. That was the child born. But the son that was given was Christ on the cross. He came and God gave his son to us as the redeeming for our lives. But then notice there's a semicolon, because Jesus did not just be born and die. There's more to his life than that. And the government will be upon his shoulder. Has that happened yet? You might say, yeah, of course, he's ruling from heaven. No. Because what he's referring to in verse 7 refers to what he says here in verse 6. And the government will be upon his shoulder. That is his second return, when he's going to come and rule from Jerusalem on David's throne, and he's going to rule the world. He will return. And he will rule. But then it says, and again. And his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, and the Prince of Peace. Notice verse 7. It says, to order and establish the throne of David with judgment and justice from that time forward, comma, even forever. You see, not only will he rule here from this earth, but he will rule in heaven for eternity from the New Jerusalem. This is a full encompassing verse. It was God that commanded the light to shine out of this dark place. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 6 says this. Next one. For it is the God who commanded light to shine out of darkness, who has shone in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. God said, I want the light to shine out of the darkness, not out of the light. I want you to come back not from Jerusalem, but to those that need it most, that are on the edge, that are on the shadows of death. It was God that commanded the light to shine where it was most needed. Paul, who wrote this to the church at Corinth, He was a Jew that was raised with Roman citizenship in a city of Greek culture. He was literally all-encompassing. He was a liberal arts college walking. He understood the worldly ideas. He understood the struggle of humanity from all three different parts of society's background. You see, the Jews sought for light. You go all across the scripture and you see the difference between light and darkness. They looked for this light. They sought for more light. But what they found was ritual. And they were lost, groping around in the darkness, desperately trying to find the light, and all they were finding was practicing ritual over and over again. The Greeks, they sought for knowledge. You bring in your knowledge, I'll bring in my knowledge, we'll debate it, we'll talk about it, we'll see who's better, who's greater, maybe we can add it all together. And what they actually found was meaninglessness, like Solomon talked about. Life is a vapor, it's just, and you're gone. It's all vanity. They were empty. The Romans, they sought for glory. Whether it was the glory of the Roman Empire that was around the known world at the time, or it was the glory of the Roman army conquering the world. But even the Romans found that that was empty as well, and that the glory that they saw was of an empty shell. So what does Paul write to a people that was looking for glory and not finding it? To a people that were searching for knowledge and finding meaninglessness? To a people that were looking for light and found none? He says, it was in this darkness that God commanded the true light to shine and be revealed in the face of Jesus. Jews, if you're looking for light, look at Jesus' face. He is the light. Greeks, if you're looking for knowledge, look into the face of Jesus, the unknowable, the incomprehensible. Romans, if you're looking for glory, it'll knock you off your horse. Trust me, I've been there. It's all in the face of Jesus. Well, you see, he's coming. When he shows up, he's going to be Lord. And when he shows up, he's also going to be light. You ever had one of those light bulb moments where it was just I'm struggling around, I'm stumbling, and I just don't get it, and then all of a sudden, boom, the light comes on, you're like, oh yeah. Can your pastor just be like really transparent this morning? Greg says no. All right, well, I might not share all of those stories then. So, last week, I'm here at the church during school hours. And I go to wash my hands at the kitchen sink. And I turn the water on, and I'm waiting for it to get warm. And I'm waiting for it to get warm. And it's not getting warm. It's not getting warm. Well, the construction guy in me says, uh-oh, there's a problem with the hot water. How long has it been since we replaced the hot water heater here at the church? I wonder if a solenoid went out and I'm going to have to replace it. And my mind's going through all of these, and I was like, but man, right now I just don't have the time to fix it. I'll just have to get to it later. And so all day long I'm thinking about, man, I got to go and check that thing. I got to see if one of them broke, you know. And I go home that night, and I use the restroom, and I go to wash my hands, and I turn the water on, and the water at my house is cold. This is odd. This is really odd. Why is the water at my house cold too? So then I turn on the other valve. And I said, all day long I've been worried about the water being cold at the church. And it's just because I turned the wrong faucet on. By the way, I'm a guy that does this for a living. But sometimes your mind, you know what I mean? Your mind is just, it's in darkness. And then when the light comes on, you're like, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? I hope nobody finds out about it and then I say it from the pulpit, you know. You ever been there? I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right? You're just doing something and then all of a sudden the light comes on and you're like, oh man. So this morning, this is really embarrassing. My feet were really bothering me because we were up and moving around a lot yesterday, traveling and stuff like that. And so this morning, instead of taking a shower, I was just going to sit in the bath and try and stretch my feet out and get them feeling better. And I turn on my phone once my alarm goes off, and my Facebook has several messages, so I checked my Facebook. And as I scroll down a little bit, Duluth Trading had their Christmas sale. And it said 60 to 80% off. Well, I don't know any of you guys, if you've ever worn Duluth pants, it's life-changing. They're fantastic. They're expensive, but it's fantastic. So I went in there, and man, they've got coats that are normally $200 that are like down to $40 a piece. And I'm like, my wife's going to kill me. But she's getting a coat, everybody's getting a coat, you know, kind of like Oprah thing. I had 4 pairs of pants, you know, and I've got this, it's like $400 and some inside my cart, you know, and now I'm editing, well, if I do this, I won't live till next Christmas, so I'll cut down a few things, you know, and I'm cutting down, but I'm like, man, these deals are so good, I wouldn't be able to get it any other time of the year. So I finally get it down to a reasonable, and it was $150. But, I mean, still, what I had, I could have bought in 2 pairs of pants, and everybody's got a coat. I've got several pairs of pants, shirts. I mean, the works, you know. Doing great. And I thought, you know what? I think Sonia would need one more sweater, because what I got her just was a coat. And the sweaters were like $7, and they were normally $50. So I go back, and I put another, the sweater in the cart, and I updated it, and the cart still said $150. Thought, well, that's odd. I'm going to see if it'll work again. So I put another piece of clothing in, and it stayed at $150. I'm like, all right, something's not right. But whatever, I've got a great deal, so I'm buying. So I get out my credit card. I'm sitting in the bathtub doing this, by the way, as hilarious as it is. I'm sitting there, and I put the credit card number in, and I hit checkout. I put in my address. I put in my email, my password, my credit card number, the 3 digits on the back of the credit card number, hit send, and immediately get a text from my credit card company. Did you buy $150 worth Sunday deals? And I said, no. And it was at that moment that I realized I had messed up. Because then I went back to the little ad that was on Facebook and realized I didn't buy anything from Duluth Trading. But I bought it all from a mirror site that looked exactly like Duluth Trading, and just decided to give them all of the information that I own except for my Social Security number. That moment, I mean, if I had a picture of the, oh no, when the light came on. You know what I'm talking about? Needless to say, I'm getting a new credit card in 5 to 7 days, and I get to throw away the one I've got. Yeah, I know they say that, you know, the older you get, the, you know, easier it is to be deceived or whatever, you know. Boy, when I get to my old age and technology is going to far surpass what I have now, I'm going to be in serious trouble. Just write a big gullible and target on my head, I think. Let's talk about the properties of light for just a minute. Light is revealing. When that light bulb moment comes on, and all of the dots are now connected, all of the shadows disappear, you're like, oh, that's what that was. I've told you the story. My first church, I had a lady that she had lots of issues, but she was convinced that someone was in her house in the middle of the night while she was sleeping. And they were walking around and checking on her and doing all these kinds of nefarious things, to the point that she put a camera up next to her refrigerator and had it scanning all night into her kitchen because she was convinced somebody was there. And then when she got the camera, she brought it to Sonia and I and said, now look, see the person right there? And all it was shadows of the trees. Sonia and I could see it plain as day, but in her darkness and in her fear, she was convinced that something else was going on. When you turn the light switch on, all the ghosts that are underneath the bed, all the monsters go away, don't they? Light also brings order. It's interesting, the pictograph Hebrew of the word or, the word light, is actually, the picture is of a box, that you're putting everything inside the box. And you're like, well, that's kind of weird for light. How you'd use light is to put stuff in a box. But think about it. You go to Genesis chapter 1 when light shows up, and immediately everything starts to fall into order because of the light. When you turn the light on, the warped shadows, the darkness, it all goes away and everything comes now into order. Remember the man that Jesus healed? The one time he touched his eyes and he asked him, what do you see? And he says, well, I see men that are like trees. Everything was real fuzzy, and then Jesus healed him again, touched him again, and man, the guy could see perfectly. The more that light shows up, the more that light comes in, the more organized and in order everything really is. Without light, not only does darkness reign, but so does disorder. It's a dangerous place where there is no light. Dangers are in the darkness. But when the light comes on in the darkness, the dangers are gone. Light brings hope. Like sailors longing for home out on the far seas. To see the light of the far city or of the lighthouse in the distance brings hope of home. Or how about this? When you turn on the light and you're like, a spider. When you're like, I don't know if I want to see the spider when I turn the light on. Think about it. Would you rather that the spider be there with the lights off and you don't know he's there? Or would you rather the dangerous, poisonous spider be there and the lights be on so you can see him? It's kind of obvious, isn't it? Well, as much as I would not have liked to turn the light on and seen the dangerous, poisonous spider, it's a whole lot better to see him than not see where he's at. Or a scorpion under the blanket that you got, right? Or in your boots when you're over there fighting in the Middle East, as a couple of people have reported. I was actually praying about this as I was working on this. And I was praying, Lord, reveal the dark places of my heart and my soul. And the thought came to me, I'm kind of scared of what he might find. I'm a little worried that there might be something there that I don't want there. And Lord, I don't really want that revealed. And immediately the thought came to my mind. Dan, would you rather me leave it there in the dark? Or would you rather me reveal it and remove it? Well, then there's no question, is there? Lord, turn the lights on. Get this thing out of here. If there's something in my life that you turn the light on and it doesn't belong there, whoo, time to clean house. I don't want to leave it in the dark. I don't know about you, but my little toes, they can't take much more stubbing. All of little Hannah's toys are in our master bedroom. So when she gets a bunch of new birthday gifts from a party yesterday, and it's dark, and you're wandering around waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, my toes can't handle much more stubbing. And Sonia certainly can't wait to hear, no more thump. Stupid toys, You got to turn the light on. And if there's something that's there that doesn't belong, we need to get it out of there. Light is a wonderful thing in our life. Unfortunately, we're often too fearful to allow it. John chapter 3, verse 16, you know this passage well, talking to Nicodemus at night. Jesus said, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but the world through him might be saved. He who believes in me is not condemned, but he who does not believe in me is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. And this is the condemnation, that light has come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. For everyone practicing evil hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his deeds be exposed. But he who does the truth comes into the light, that his deeds might be clearly seen, that they may be done. They have been done in God." See, the condemnation of the world is this, that the lights showed up and we've been over here. You can look at a lot of things, just don't look at this little spot. Let me keep this hidden, Lord. You see, it's the evil that hides, isn't it? Think about it. The darker something is, the more evil it is, the darker it is. You can scale the movies that you watch based on how bright and light they are and how dark the lighting is in accordance to its evil. Right? We were talking about, I think, Wednesday night, Schindler's List. Black and white movie, but boy, there's a lot of dark in that movie. The closer to darkness we are, the more evil it becomes. And the condemnation is that God turned the flashlight on, he flipped the switch, and we're over here in the corner holding everything. Oh, look at all of that, Lord, but don't look at what's behind me. Don't look at this. The other side to that is, too, it may not be that you're evil, but that you're fearful of what he might find. Lord, don't look here, because that kind of scares me. What happens if? Lord, don't take this from me, because if I let you have this, then I don't have control over it. And what happens when? I hate to tell you this, but do you know what he says about the fearful? The fearful and the evil find their same place in the burning pits of hell. Not my words, that was Jesus. It says all the fearful. And then he gives a whole list of terrible things that are also involved in that. When little kids, they think they're in trouble, what do they often do? They run and hide. Doesn't mean that they're actually doing something evil, but they're scared of what might happen when you find it, right? I want to take us back to that passage, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 6. Because not only did God command the light to be shown out of the darkness, look at what the very next verse says. But we have this treasure. What's the treasure? The light in earthen vessels, that the excellence of the power may be of God and not of us. The same wording that says, God said, let there be light, and there was light. He also was the one that commanded it to come out of the darkness. And where did he put that light? In us. The same wording. He says, let it come out of you. He commanded it to come out of you. Because you know what? We live in a dark world. As much as we need the lights flipped on in our lives, in the dark recesses of our heart, in our struggle, in our weakness, in our disorder, in our fearfulness, so does the world around us. And they're looking for light in all different wrong places. They're looking for it in power, in money, in friends, in physical attraction, all kinds of physical pleasure, and they're not finding it. They keep groping for it, but it's still darkness. We are the ones that have the light, And if God commanded it to come out of the darkness, he's saying, come out of you into the darkness. Matthew chapter 5, verse 14. You are the light of the world, a city that is set on a hill that cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp, do they put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, that it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. You're the light of the world. He has placed his wonderful, glorious light inside of you, you bunch of cracked pots. And he wants the world to see it. He wants them to experience what you are experiencing in your life, in your struggles, in your victories. How evil do we have to be to want to hide that light? Can you imagine? Everybody's in the house. And they're all trying to do something. The kids are trying to play a game. Wife's trying to read. Or let's say this. The wife's trying to do dishes. Make you a sandwich. Come on, that was supposed to be funny, y'all. And you're trying to read a book. So you take that one light that's illuminating the entire house, and you take it off to a back corner of the room, and you put that little light next to your book so that you can read. Now the kids can't play the game. Now you're going to go hungry because you won't get a sandwich. You may get your book read. Any dad that would do that needs to be slapped. Right? How selfish could a dad be to do that? Folks, how selfish does a Christian have to be when they hide their light when people are in so much darkness? I'm not saying we come beat them over the head with the Bible. You need this. No, you need what I got. And it has nothing to do with what I did. It has to do that he came in. I'm thankful for the light that's been in my life. You know what? I was making a surefire mess real quick out of my life without the light. And I know I'm still messed up. And I'm a whole lot further along than what I would have been without his light in me. Folks, let your light shine. But that's not what he said. Wouldn't it have been great if Jesus said, just let your light shine? Sure, no problem. Hey, everybody, look real quick. Oh, you need it? Oh, you need it? That's not what he says, though, is it? He said, let your light so shine before men. That little two-letter word, that changes the whole perspective of that verse. Let your light so shine before men that when they see your life, he gets glory. That's not, hey, look real quick. Oh, that's my light. Oh, that's my light. And then you go off and you do your thing. And then you see one little problem. Oh. No. That's living full out there. By the way, do you like how I dressed this morning? I tried to find the whitest outfit and the most yellow shirt that I could find in my closet to shine a light this morning. Let your light so shine through the cracked pot that you are, the earthen vessel that you are. Because it's not about the vessel, it's about the light on the inside. He's coming again, you better believe it. He's going to be Lord, you better believe it. And when he comes, all of the light's going to shine, and it's going to reveal some really bad stuff. Lord, if there's any bad stuff in here, before you show up, take care of it now, because I sure don't want it revealed later. I don't want to hold anything back, Lord. Let your light so shine. Would you stand with me? Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. It really does mean the world to me that you're getting a blessing out of it. If this video was a blessing, make sure to hit that thumbs up button for me. That way other people can find it as well. Here in the link section, you'll find playlists and new videos that we put out. We try to do 2 or 3 a week. You can also subscribe to the channel by pressing on my face and then hitting the bell icon, and that will alert you to new videos. May God richly bless you.